Welcome to this explainer. Today we're actually going to look at economics, but definitely not through complicated charts or dry academic papers. We're going to break down this absolutely fascinating fable from the village of Ramgarh. It perfectly illustrates the real-world mechanics and, frankly, the incredible dangers of predatory pricing and monopolies. It's basically a story about a simple food cart, a wealthy businessman, and a community that ends up learning a really, really hard lesson about true value. So let's dive right into this.
But before we jump into the actual mechanics of this business fable, just ask yourself, what happens when greed collides with a poor man's honesty? I mean, in our modern world, we see this all the time, right? Think about how often the illusion of cheap alternatives just totally destroys local ecosystems, whether it's massive tech conglomerates or giant retail chains moving into a new town. It happens everywhere. So keep that in the back of your mind as we explore exactly what went down in Ramgarh.
Section 1. The authentic taste of Ramgarh. Okay, so here's the foundation of this entire community's food scene. Meet Ramu. For 15 whole years, Ramu has been running his little food cart right at the village crossroads. He is a deeply honest guy who has built immense loyalty by serving incredible high-quality Chole Bhature for just 20 rupees. He operates on a tiny, tiny profit margin, literally just enough to keep his own family fed because, well, he views the village as his extended family. This isn't just a business for him, it's a genuine service. But, of course, then comes the disruption. A super wealthy city restaurant owner named Singhania happens to stop by. He tastes Ramu's phenomenal food and instantly sees an opportunity to make a massive profit. So, Singhania tries to buy Ramu out, offering him a salary to be the head chef in a flashy new restaurant. But Ramu, he totally refuses. He tells Singhania, "I am the master of my own cart, no one's servant." He explains that a fancy restaurant would completely price out the everyday villagers he loves to serve. He flat out refuses to be corporatized. Section 2. The conspiracy of greed and monopoly. Well, Singhania does not take rejection well at all. His bruised ego immediately transforms into a ruthless corporate takeover strategy. He buys land directly opposite Ramu and opens this massive, flashy restaurant. Suddenly, the villagers are faced with a stark choice. Over on one side, you have Ramu, steady, honest quality, a true community staple priced at a fair 20 rupees. But yeah, you do have to stand outside in the dust to eat. On the other side, Singhania is offering a shiny new restaurant with chairs, AC, aggressive marketing, and most importantly, a price of just 15 rupees. Which really forces us to ask, why do we so quickly abandon loyalty for a tiny discount? The villagers of Ramgarh immediately flock to Singhania. They're just thrilled to save 5 rupees and sit under a fan, completely forgetting Ramu's 15 years of loyal service. Actually, it's a perfect moment for us to pause and reflect on our own consumer psychology when faced with aggressive undercutting. We're so often blind to the long-term cost of a short-term bargain. Now, Singhania absolutely wasn't offering food for 15 rupees out of the goodness of his heart. No way. This was a highly calculated attack. This is Singhania's predatory playbook. Step 1. Set up right in your competitor's face. Step 2. Subsidize extreme losses. Singhania is using his vast city wealth to deliberately lose money on every single plate, pricing it way below what it actually costs to make, just to undercut Ramu's sustainable baseline. And step 3. Starve the competitor out of business. Guys, this is literally the textbook definition of predatory pricing. Section 3. The dangerous deception of cheap. And tragically for Ramu, the playbook works perfectly. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into months. Ramu's food just sits there, untouched. His life savings dry up completely. In a really heartbreaking turn of events, Ramu is forced to pack up his cart in tears, facing complete poverty and starvation for his family. And just like that, the village is now entirely 100% dependent on Singhania. The competition is officially dead. So, now what? Just watch how this classic bait-and-switch trap unfolds over time. On day 1, remember, they were paying 15 rupees. It was a beautiful illusion. But by week 4, with Ramu completely out of the picture, Singhania quietly changes the sign to 40 rupees. He has to recoup the massive losses he took during that initial undercutting phase. Then, by week 8, it skyrockets to 60 rupees. And to make matters worse, he cuts back on the ingredients, drastically reducing the food quality. This right here is the life cycle of an unchecked monopoly. Pure, unrestrained extraction. 60 rupees. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second.
The villagers, who happily abandoned Ramu to save a mere 5 rupees, are now paying triple the original price. And for what? For watery chole, fewer bhature, and incredibly cheap spices. It decisively proves that in any market, cheap is very, very often an illusion, masking long-term extraction. Without competition, the consumer basically loses all their power.
Naturally, when the villagers rightfully complain, Singhanya's mask completely falls off. He tells them point blank, "Mine is the only shop in all of Ramgarh. Even if I sell a plate for 100 rupees, you will have to eat it." This just shows the sheer, unchecked arrogance of a monopoly. Singhania knows for a fact the consumers have absolutely zero alternatives left. He doesn't have to be polite anymore. He certainly doesn't have to provide quality anymore. He owns the market. Section 4. The Villager's Heavy Regret. This harsh new reality finally brings a long overdue awakening. The villagers, led by a wise elder named Sukiya Kaka, gather together. They finally sit down and tally up the massive compounding costs of their initial greed. They're paying triple the price. The food is absolutely terrible. They're being blatantly disrespected to their faces daily. And honestly, worst of all, they carry this heavy guilt that a genuinely honest man, Ramu, is facing starvation entirely because of their collective selfishness. Sukiya Kaka brilliantly summarizes the core moral of this whole situation. When a person has something good, they just don't appreciate its value. They traded 15 years of rock-solid trust in genuine value for a totally superficial, unsustainable bargain. It's such a powerful reflection on how we take reliable, honest local businesses for granted, right up until a corporate monopoly wipes them off the map.
Section 5. The Triumph of Truth and Goodness.
But, unlike a lot of real-world scenarios, this fable actually gives us a blueprint for fighting back, showing exactly how a community can course-correct this massive market failure. The crucial takeaway here is that the villagers break the monopoly through unified collective action. Step 1, they physically go to Ramu's house and sincerely apologize. Step 2, knowing Ramu is completely broke, the entire community pools their own money to buy his ingredients and restock his cart. Step 3, they launch a total, uncompromising boycott of Singhanya's restaurant. And step 4, this is absolutely the most important part. When Singhania sees his empty restaurant, he panics and drops his price to a desperate 10 rupees. But the villagers, they completely ignore him. They've learned their lesson. They've flat out rejected the bait.
So what actually happens when a monopoly loses its captive audience? Well, it starves. Without a customer base to exploit to cover his massive overhead costs, Singhania's completely unsustainable business model just collapses. He goes bankrupt, shuts his doors in the dead of night, and flees right back to the city. Meanwhile, Ramu's honest enterprise is rightfully restored to the center of the village, proudly serving the community once again at his steady, reliable 20 rupees.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. Take a look at your own life, your own community, and your own wallet. Where do you spend your money? Are you chasing a quick bargain or investing in lasting value? Because every single time we spend, we are literally voting for the kind of market and ultimately the kind of world we want to live in. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you remember the story of Ramgarh the very next time a deal seems just a little too good to be true.